Hey, does anyone remember the gold rush? Back in the 19th century, prospectors were flooding California rivers with a pan in hand, chasing wealth. Well, scientists now say it might be time for the moon rush, because apparently precious metals worth over $1 trillion could be hiding underneath the surface of the moon. That's a lot of money. However, can we really reach it? And if so, who does it belong to? If you have ever paid close attention to the pictures of the moon, you probably noticed a lot of holes and craters. Our satellite is like a giant Swiss cheese. It has over 1.3 million craters, if you count those larger than 0.6 miles. But today, we're focusing on about 6,500 really big ones, those over 12 miles wide. Those were not made by little green men or little green moles, but rather by asteroids crashing into the moon since eternity. Scientists compared moon scans to meteorites, and after crunching the numbers, they think there could be a fortune in platinum hiding in those craters. What's exciting is that many of these resources could be just a few feet beneath the surface. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere like Earth, so there's no wind, rain, or earthquakes messing things up. That means those asteroid crashes left their priceless metals pretty much right where they landed, undisturbed in lunar dust for millions of years. With each crater like a giant space bowl, catching platinum, iridium, palladium, and other metals. On Earth, we have to drill super deep just to get a tiny bit of these. By the way, did you know that most of the mineable gold on Earth likely came from ancient meteorites? When Earth first formed, almost all the original gold sank into the core. The stuff we can actually dig up today is probably what's left when space rocks slammed into the crust billions of years ago. So maybe you wonder why not reach for the asteroids and mine there? Well, that's because they're out of reach. Yes, in theory, it would be possible to mine from asteroids, but obviously the moon is way closer and easier to get to than any other giant rocks floating in space. We've already walked on it and brought back pieces of it to Earth, so it's fair to say we are familiar with it. This makes mining it a much smarter step than chasing unpredictable asteroids. However, asteroids are next on the list. Also, when it comes to mining the moon, it's not just about the prize. Some of those craters have frozen water. We know that because several missions, like NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and India's Chandrayaan-1, have found frozen water ice in dark craters near the moon's poles. This ice is super valuable because it can be broken down into oxygen and hydrogen. They are the parts needed to make rocket fuel. It could also be purified for astronauts to drink, or even used to help grow plants. Imagine filling up spaceships with fuel right on the moon before flying off to other planets. Not only does that sound pretty cool, but it's also economical and convenient. That would save us a ton of money and effort. And if we're already stopping to refuel, why not stick around and set up shop? It's about building a whole new space base and turning the moon into a launching pad for exploring deeper space. A moon base would let scientists study wild space weather, practice building habitats, and test robots in real lunar dust. I can't be the only one excited for the future where robots stream their live missions from the moon. The skills and knowledge we develop there could be essential for living on Mars or exploring the moons of Jupiter and beyond. This is not as far-fetched as you might believe. Companies like Astroforge and Karman Plus are working on tech to mine asteroids, and maybe the moon someday. NASA's Artemis program is trying hard to set up a sustainable human presence on the moon in the next decade. And Europe's space agency is also eyeing lunar resources. So yeah, the idea of people and robots working together on the moon is probably just a matter of time. Still, it's not as simple as it sounds. There are big questions that humanity faces. Just like with the original gold rush, it's a bit of the Wild West when it comes to rules. The Outer Space Treaty, signed in 1967, says no country can claim the moon as its territory. However, it's pretty vague when it comes to private companies mining resources. So, if you build your rocket and mine some platinum first, is it yours? Well, as for right now, it's a guessing game. Countries are debating and trying to figure it out before the space gold rush turns into a lunar free-for-all battle royale. Then, there's the challenge of protecting the moon's one-of-a-kind environment. Some craters are so quiet that scientists dream of turning them into giant space observatories that study the universe without any radio noise from Earth. Mining nearby could shake things up or kick dust into the air. Lunar soil could damage the sensitive gadgets and ruin the billion-dollar science experiments. That would definitely annoy researchers. Plus, some parts of the moon have been untouched, and mining could wipe out cool spots we haven't even fully explored yet. So basically, we want to make sure we don't turn the moon into a lunar construction site before we've learned all its secrets. That's why some experts suggest setting up protected zones on the moon, like national parks here on Earth, where mining and heavy machines just aren't allowed. That way, we get the benefits of lunar resources, but keep the moon's most important areas safe for research and discovery. But here's an even bigger question. How is this thing going to affect us casual Earthlings who can't take a walk up to the moon with our metal detectors and explore? The moon's rare metals aren't just worth a lot. They could actually be super useful for future tech. Platinum group metals, which might be found in lunar soil, are used in things like medical gear, satellites, and even some types of batteries and fuel cells. If the moon really is sitting on $1 trillion treasure, it could boost tech industries and possibly lower costs. There's also helium-3, a rare isotope found on the lunar surface. Scientists think it could someday be used for nuclear fusion, providing a clean, powerful source of energy that doesn't create greenhouse gases or long-term radioactive waste. If fusion becomes possible, even small amounts of helium-3 could power entire cities. One cool perk of using resources from space is that we could cut down on all the digging and pollution here on Earth. That means less damage to our environment and more sustainable ways to keep up with our growing population's needs. On the other hand, all these new opportunities could create new challenges. Of course, there's going to be a cosmic tug-of-war with who gets the goodies. Nobody wants the fear of missing out on a moon rush. Bottom line, lunar mining isn't just a science experiment. It's something that could affect economies, technology, and the environment here on Earth, for better or worse. When I was a kid, hundreds of years ago, we had the moon bases on the covers of our science books. One of the reasons why moon landing projects became so rare is that it just wasn't financially viable. Why should a country spend resources to get to the moon if there's nothing valuable up there? However, now that we think there's something out there, everything could change. That's why I already imagine myself working 9 to 5 on the moon, fixing robots and growing moon plants. But it's time to get back to Earth, so to speak. Nobody's setting up a moon McDonald's or booking lunar Airbnbs just yet. Even the most optimistic experts say we're still decades away from big mining operations or permanent lunar bases. For now, most missions will be robotic, experimental, and with price tags that will make your head hurt. So until we all get our moon mining helmets, it's something to think about while moon gazing.